This is Acadiana's Morning News. Bernadette Lee and Brandon Como here with you. Good morning. Hope you're enjoying the start to your Monday. Joining us now in the studio is Lafayette Parish Sheriff-elect Mark Garber after his victory on Saturday night. Again, he is now the Lafayette Parish Sheriff-elect. And Mark, first of all, congratulations on your victory. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you so much. I've got a big smile on my face and just so excited to be here and be the sheriff-elect.
Yeah, can you kind of, what emotions are you feeling right now? I mean, this was, as you said to me off the air, this has been just a long campaign, and, I can imagine there's so many emotions going right now.
Well, it's gratitude, thankfulness, relief. There's just so many emotions, and it's all about being thankful for my supporters. Thank you, voters of Lafayette Parish, for giving me the chance to serve. This is truly my dream job. There is no other job I would want. If I could be the senator or the president or anything like that would not interest me. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do, and I'm so thankful to have the opportunity.
Right. I think the number one thing people want to talk about, and I asked you briefly about this on Saturday night, is, okay, so what happens now? I mean, you have several months that you're going to be working on, kind of this transition. But for everybody, they're going to be saying, well, what's going to change? So I know you can't just pinpoint and say, oh, we're going to not do this or do this, but overall, are there going to be massive changes, do you anticipate?
Well, I don't think with an organization the size and scope of the Lafayette Sheriff's Office, you're ever going to have massive, drastic change. What I've been saying about my plans, if I were to be elected, was that we were going to focus more on the front end of the house now. We're going to focus more on patrol, investigations, crime scene, the core law enforcement functions, while at the same time maintaining the rehabilitation programs that have already been set in place over the last 15 years. Because, as we've talked about before, those programs do reduce crime. We have empirical scientific data that shows us that among Lafayette Parish offenders, the recidivism rate, the rate that people will go back and commit crimes within a short amount of time, has been reduced from 65%, the national average, to 21%. It's an amazing difference. That is great service to the public. But now we're going to focus on the front end and focus on those core law enforcement competencies, if you will.
People want to know, how will you do that without asking the taxpayers for a bunch of money?
Well, that's what I've been touting as something that is within my ability to do. I am a successful businessman. I have a PhD level education. I'm going to bring that to bear and figure it out. There's a lot of ways you can shift personnel around. You can use your resources more effectively using technology and do more with what you have. And that's been the watchword in the phrase that I've repeated for the 9 or 10 months that we've been campaigning. Now I get a chance to do it. And I'm very comfortable, and I believe that we will be able to do it because of the men and women at the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. We have some very, very good talent there. We have very good people there. And also looking forward to working with the chiefs of police in this parish. Coming up, I'm going to have a lot of meetings, okay, in the months to come. And it's going to be about meeting with the mayors and the city councils of the towns in Lafayette Parish, assessing what their needs are, what are their concerns, and then also working with the chiefs of police in those towns to augment them, to assist them in protecting their towns, which is ultimately falls in line with protecting this parish.
And, one thing, going back to that transition period, which we've touched on here throughout the interview, but even fully making people more aware about it, because the Lafayette Sheriffs, as other sheriffs races across the state, are different as opposed to other races where you're going to take, you're going to jump into office in about 7 months as opposed to in January. So, you've also, during this time period, you're going to be working with the current sheriff, Mike Newstrom. So just kind of let the listeners know, inform them more about that.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up, but because that's something that most people don't know, is that sheriffs in Louisiana do not take office until July 1 of the following year.
Brand new fiscal year.
So you have to get elected in 2015, but you're not taking office until the 7th month of 2016. So you've really got a lot of transition period to go through, and Sheriff Mike Newstrom is still our sheriff until June 30th at midnight, and until I get sworn in as the sheriff. So I won't be able to take much action unless he and I agree on what I can do before that time. And I do anticipate a very smooth transition. I anticipate very light turnover at the sheriff's office because there's just no need for drastic changes. There are going to be several retirements, I know, by the end of the year and going before the middle of next year because people are maxed out.
Yeah.
So already we're going to have vacancies in the command staff level and other strata of the sheriff's office. So that'll be, I think, enough for any new personnel changes that I would want to make.
I'm curious, too, from the standpoint of recruiting and getting people to stay with the sheriff's office. It can tend to be an issue and a problem to get folks to stay there. You know, often we can end up training them, Lafayette Parish taxpayers, we train them, and then doggone it, they go somewhere else. They go to another agency. Well,
that's been a challenge, I think, in part due to the lower compensation. If you compare gross pay to gross pay, Lafayette Parish Sheriff deputies are lower paid than the other law enforcement agencies in this area. But what is not seen on the gross pay to gross pay comparison is that the insurance benefits package and the retirement, that total compensation is
much better,
actually very competitive. But it's just when you look at gross pay to gross pay, and if you're a younger worker, you're more transient than you are if you're a worker in the workforce. So what I've been touting is that we're going to start looking in a different location. We're going to start looking at a different group of people to recruit for the sheriff's office deputies. I think that people coming out of the military are going to be a key part of the workforce, the future of Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. You have people who do a tour of 4 to 6 years. They might do 2 4-year obligations, and now they're in the inactive ready reserves. Those would be people who would appreciate the benefits package more. Right. You have 38 to 42-year-olds who retire, and they have 20 years in, and they have a retirement now, and they have TRICARE for their health care for their family. And they have this retirement coming in, but they still need a job. So this is the type of job I think that would suit someone like that, and they can appreciate what this benefits package has to offer, as opposed to someone younger in the early 20s who may not, generically speaking, have the understanding and life experience to fully appreciate the whole package.
We're speaking with Lafayette Parish Sheriff-elect Mark Garber. So a lot of times we focus on the voters and what the voters can expect, from a candidate once they're elected. But as we're talking about, future deputies with the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, let's talk about current deputies and jumping in with that as future deputies as well. Your management style. What can current deputies that work for the Sheriff's Office and future deputies that are thinking about it, what can they expect from the leadership of Mark Garber as their sheriff?
They can expect me to let them do their jobs. My job is to support them, to give them the top cover that they need to do their jobs, which is protecting the lives and property of the citizens of this parish. That is our core function. That is what we are here for. I will give them the top cover to do that. That's what my message has been to groups of deputies that I've met with. My job is to be in the public, to be accessible to the public, to hear the needs of the public, and then to translate those into my expectations for the men and women of the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. But in addition to that, I should say, they can expect a more involved leadership. I'm going to be showing up on a traffic stop at night to back up a deputy occasionally. I'll show up in the correctional center just to see what's going on. I'm going to be out and about in the various operations of the sheriff's office to be there firsthand and to hear their concerns and to be side by side with them.
That's interesting. Yeah. I bet deputies, that might blow their minds a little bit, All right, let's talk personally about Mark, just you, and your family. So I was asking him this question before we got on the air, and I'm thinking, if I was a little kid and then all of a sudden my dad becomes the sheriff, how would I kind of think about that? Or how would, as a family unit, obviously it changes things a bit, but now Dad's going to be the sheriff. You think that's really kind of sunk in for the kids yet, really?
Well, I've got a 10-year-old and one that my second daughter, Cece, turns 6 on November 20th. So I've got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I don't think that the 6-year-old really understands fully what's going on. My 10-year-old, unfortunately, because of the heavy negative campaigning done by my opponent, got, told things at school and heard things
Sure.
and so forth. So she's really glad it's over, but I still think that she also doesn't really realize what just happened here. And in time, she will. My daughters are glad it's over. My wife is glad it's over.
Yeah.
And they're ready to get their dad back.
I would imagine they are. Okay, now, Mark, you yourself, you worked for it, you wanted to do it, but now, as you're looking at all the different challenges ahead, I know you're excited, I know you're enthusiastic and you're energetic, but is there that one moment where you pause? We always ask candidates this, after you win and you go, oh wait, what'd I just do? Do you feel that a little bit?
It hadn't hit me yet, if that's coming at all. Okay. I'm so grateful to have the chance to do this job and to show the public what I can do. That hadn't hit me. I think that I'm going to come into an organization that has been very well run. I'm very happy with most of what I've found in the sheriff's office. And it's just a great situation to come into and to build on the work that Sheriff Newstrom has already accomplished to protect us and to keep us safe here in Lafayette Parish. But I'll let you know if that moment does come.
That moment does come, yeah. I'll be curious about that. Okay, what about the people that are listening right now? What kind of communication do you hope they give to you? Whether they voted for you or not, obviously, as you said, you're here to protect lives and to protect property. How are you hoping that folks will be able to communicate with you?
Well, I'm going to be more out in the public than what people are used to. I'll be at the 4-H shows, at the festivals, at sporting events. I'll be seen out in the public for breakfast at the normal gathering places at different parts of the parish. And I want them to know that I'm an open-door sheriff, that I'm accessible, and that I want to hear what their concerns are. The way I was brought up was that you can go talk to the sheriff about what you need to talk to him about. And people, I think, in our community still want to be able to come talk to the man or woman that they elect to any office. And I'm going to try very hard. And my some of the upper management at the sheriff's office say it's impossible, but I say we'll see, to be accessible, to set some regular office hours where people can come and find me there and tell me what's on their mind, what can I do for them. Whether it's a speed bump or a lighting situation, they're going to know that I'm going to try to help them. That's what I want the general public, the voting public, to know, that they can come to me and I will help them with their issue. Because that is what a public servant does. What
about the media? You know, here we are. Of course, we have to ask you this question. How accessible will you be to the media?
Absolutely as accessible as I can be. One of my other watchwords or phrases during the campaign was transparency and accountability with the public. The media represents the public in that state of affairs, and it's very important to me personally and professionally to have an open dialogue with the media. When we have an incident, and we will have incidents, I would rather give the media the narrative than to have the media try to figure it out and publish something that's not 100% right. Obviously, with law enforcement, there are some nuances. Sometimes with investigations, with a major case, there will be times when we cannot divulge certain atmospherics because oftentimes that's how you catch someone. Is keeping certain information secure. But in other cases where if we have a critical use of force by a sheriff's deputy or a police officer, I expect to be completely transparent with the media and with the community leaders and thereby with the public.
All right. Mark Garber has been our guest. We have just asked as many questions as we possibly could, everything we wanted to ask you this morning. As we're wrapping up here today, we do want to say thank you for coming in and being in the studio with us. We do fully anticipate talking with you again, asking you to come into the studio, hoping you will accept that invitation. We're not going to harass you, let's say, but maybe a little bit. And we'll be looking at the transition closely as well to see what develops over these next several months. Well, I welcome y'all's questions. I welcome the opportunity to come in here and talk about the transition as it moves forward. That goes hand in hand with what we talked about a while ago. In closing out, I would say to everyone in Lafayette Parish and in Acadiana, be safe this Thanksgiving holiday.
and be careful frying those turkeys.
Yeah.
We're going to be a lot of turkeys being fried,
right.
a lot of alcohol being consumed, and
them turkeys, you got to make sure they fully defrosted before you put that in the fryer, because that ain't pretty. That'll just burn stuff down.
Lafayette
you make an excellent point. Thank you.
Yes, Lafayette Parish Sheriff-elect Mark Garber has been our guest this morning again, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate
Bye.
it.
KPL News Time is 7:54.